Hello guys, welcome back to another video on Assetto Corsa Competizione on the PlayStation 5. Today I'm having another go at the competition server. Now, since the game came out on PS5, every time I've gone on the competition server it has been completely dead with pretty much no other drivers. But every now and then I give it a go just to see if it has got any better. So today I did end up in a lobby with a fair amount of drivers, so I thought, you know what? Let's actually give the race a go this time. We're at Silverstone, and as you can see, it is clearly soaking wet. And after a little bit of a struggle trying to remember how to turn my windscreen wiper, singular wiper there, on, I headed out on track and immediately realised that this setup was not going to be very good. So I headed back to the garage and tried to somehow get a wet setup on the car. I should point out, I've doing this with absolutely no practice, and I can't even remember the last time I drove on this game in the wet, so just trying to work out what the tyre pressures need to be. But eventually I did manage to complete a lap, although it did take me right until the end of the session because I did head out on track another couple of times and just couldn't really get the tyres in the right window. I mean, they're still only 28s here, so a bit underinflated, but I did cross the line, which put me provisionally on pole, but then the Ferrari of MFR Polcomas 88 then did go a little bit faster and knocked me down to second place. So on to the race then. Now it's a 45-minute race with no required pit stop, so it's pretty much just going to be a flat out race to the line. I hope I've got enough fuel on board. Again, I haven't really been racing that much recently, as you may have noticed, so I had to do some quick maths to try and get that right. So going down into turn one then is very, very wet. I'm just going to sling it around the outside, give loads of room on the inside for the Ferrari to make sure we get through there safely. And you can see there is a lot of spray coming off the car in front. I think on the navigation screen before we started the race it said the track was flooded or something along those lines. Anyway, so go through Maggots Beckett's then and heading on towards the hangar straight, and again you can see just how bad that spray is when you're directly behind the car in front. So I'm just going to move over to the right hand side here really, just so I can see how far away we are from Copse Corner at the end of the straight, trying to pick a braking point and going a little bit wide on turning, but actually we get quite a nice exit through there. So my goal at this stage of the race is just try to get used to the track conditions, follow close enough to the Ferrari so that if he makes any mistakes I'll be there to catch up. And you can see he's gone very, very deep as we head around towards the Lewis Hamilton straight now, and again you can see just how difficult it is to see, and I'm going to go a little bit wide there. The curbs are very, very slippery and lose a little bit of time, but you can see on the track map to the left hand side that we have gapped the cars behind, so it looks like at this point at least it's going to be a 2-horse race for the foreseeable future. It's also 9 PM, so it must be in the summer as it would be dark if we were doing it at this time of year, but that does mean that the light is going to start to disappear very, very soon, and that's just going to make this race even more tricky than it already is, as I've run a little bit wide there and get another 2 wheels on the grass. Again, like I said, I've had absolutely no practice, so I really need to just work out where I can brake and where I need to turn in and how aggressive I can be on the throttle, as once again running very, very deep, and that Ferrari ahead is just starting to creep away a little bit, so I really need to try and work out what I'm doing quite soon. Jumping forwards a couple of laps then, and you can see that it's already starting to get a bit darker. There's also a bit of a weird glitch at the top of the screen where I can't see the race timer at this point, but it does come back by the end of the race, and the Ferrari hits the sausage then, the sausage curb on the inside, and runs out very, very wide. This is going to allow us to creep right up to the back of him then, trying to judge my turning point for the turn 1 on the Grand Prix circuit, and you can see I'm getting very, very close. He's going to have to defend up the inside now, down into the hairpin, and I'm just going to try and get a bit of a switcheroo done here. Well, a kind of a double switcheroo. So we go in wide for the first one, wide for the second one, but the Ferrari seems to have it under control. I've also worked out that you can take a bit of curb on the inside here, and then you can run out nice and wide there. But it looks like the Ferrari's got a big kick of oversteer, lost a lot of time, and we've managed to sail past as we head in towards the last couple of corners of this lap. And now we're in the lead. It doesn't look like it's actually raining at the moment, so there's no visible raindrops on the windscreen, and the lap times have started to come down as well. So as we head up towards the start finish line, I'm already half a second up on my current personal best, and we go across the line to set a purple lap. So the track is definitely starting to grip up, which should mean that hopefully by the time it gets dark, the track should be a bit more grippy and I will have a much nicer time. Now the the timer at the top of the screen seems to be back and then disappearing, but we've got 37 minutes left of the race to go. Now the track did start to grip up quite nicely, albeit still fairly wet. As you can see, I'm already 8/10 up going down the Hagen Straight on this particular lap, but unfortunately I wasn't able to set the fastest lap of the race as I had to overtake a back marker towards the end of the lap, and then the rain started coming again, and it came in hard. I'd been getting a bit more confident on the curbs, but you can see here it took a little bit too much and they were very, very slippery, sending me almost into a spin, but I managed to recover it, drop down to first gear and get going again. Unfortunately, by this point, I had managed to build up a fairly large lead over the Ferrari behind, so I was able to get going and maintain my first position, but that gap had come down to about 4 seconds now, so I needed to make sure I didn't have too many more of those incidents, otherwise I might end up dropping down the order. I did, however, manage to build up a pretty big gap of around about 15 seconds, and apart from getting a bit lost going into maggots, things were going pretty well. However, the track was really, really wet at this point. You can see I'm already 3 seconds down on my delta, and we're only 30 seconds through the lap. Then a lap later, I nearly ended my own race, just turning in a little bit too early onto the Lewis Hamilton straight, clipping the sausage curb on the inside. This sent me right out wide onto the really, really flooded, slippery curbs, and just nipped the wall with the front of the car. Got a bit of damage, but managed to survive and get away with it. And fortunately, I did have enough of a gap to the car behind that I was able to maintain the lead. So there's been some pretty terrible driving, but somehow I am still in first place at this point. Now fortunately, I was able to keep it all together until the end of the race, as we come round the last corner then to finish the race with the victory. And it looks like the Ferrari has dropped down to 4th, so must have had his own offs and excursions at some point, but we cross the line and take first place. So it was a pretty enjoyable race to drive. I mean, it wasn't the most competitive, and with no practice and some dodgy driving, I was still able to win the race quite comfortably. But it was definitely a better experience on the competition server. It was nice to be able to jump in and have a proper race with some other cars. But one of the other reasons I wanted to do this race today was to see if the CP rating would work. So would I get any CP increase as a result of finishing this race? Now, once the race finished, a message did pop up at the bottom of the screen that said CP results calculating. However, when I went into my driver ratings, my CP rating was still 0. So it looked like it hadn't worked, and I even went on the game the day after to see if there might be a delay and that was causing it to still show as 0 after the race. But no, it's still 0. It's still 0 now. I'm recording this video several days after doing this race, and it is still 0. So let me know if you've been on the competition server recently and what your experience was. And does anyone watching know how the CP rating works, or have you got an increased CP rating? I mean, I don't think anyone has, to be honest, but if you have, please let me know, because you must be some kind of unicorn. Right, I'm going to stop waffling on, and I will see you in another video, hopefully not too far away.